All right, well, I'm here with Ian Barukhovich. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
All right, Ian Barukhovich, and we're having ourselves a delicious kind of midday meal, I would say. And so we're going to get this interview going. And Ian, could you tell us how old you are and how long you've been doing hand balancing for?
So,
or acro balance?
I'm 27, going on 28, and I've gotten more seriously into my hand balance training about 2 years ago, give or take. You know, different exercises start at different times.
And we have our mouths full, so again, I'll have subtitles for you guys out there. You must hear every last word we say. What sort of, did you do any other kind of movement arts before acro balancing?
So, I didn't consider my movement an art specifically, but I definitely engaged in many different types of movements over long periods of time. You know, I had skating, skateboarding is an entire movement art. Then some of my friends played basketball, I had to play with them, and there's a lot of street ball that goes on, so there's a little more fanciness of movement that goes on there. And you know, everything moved on, did some running, tried that out. You always see wrestlers, professional wrestlers, you try to build your body to look like a wrestler, get their traps and such things. And then I created bodyweight workouts. Once I learned the flag for a bet, you know, I was like, okay, I'm kind of strong, I can probably do some other things. And I trained with the parkour group once. So I decided I want to train for parkour without the danger of parkour. So I started creating some animal crawls, some gorilla runs to practice Kongs, stuff to practice just the hand balance and the hand strength. And so that's sort of the predecessor to actually getting into hand balancing and acro yoga.
Do you ever feel in the past or anything that happened back then, were you a different person than are you now? Do you feel that you've grown because of the practice of your art? Has it helped you to grow, and how has that affected you?
I was thinking about this when you were asking the other guys yesterday.
Okay.
I think that one of the most interesting differences in my mindset that come from training and starting to do things that are sort of at the edge of imagination. You know, that's the beauty of a lot of the performance art. At some point, you step over this line where normal people look at you and say, that seems kind of impossible. You know, or that's so difficult, I could never do it. Once you step into that realm, you realize how negative, cynical, and fearful people are. You know, when you're on the other side, you say, I can't do that, maybe I can't do that. You know, but most people say, I can't do that, I'll never be able to do that. And that's what I really started to realize was the differences. I train all the time out of love and obsession, and other people struggle to try to train even though they feel like it's so important. And so I started to notice that dichotomy. Actually, plus now I'm more likely to walk around, see a giant group of people, and see a street sign and say, maybe I should do a flag for them. I couldn't have done that before I started training.
Do you believe that what you do has value? And why does it have value?
What I do has value for me, unquestionably. I am my body. I am nothing without my body. And all of this stuff not only trains my body to do those things, right? Because some of it's so arbitrary. I train a million exercises to try to even get my handstands really on point, but they train me for a million other things, you know? Movement related, and even correcting your body. You know, if I'm going to sit for 8 hours a day for my normal job, my body needs to be trained for that. You know, and so even becoming aware of where my hips are in a hand balance, or aware of where the balance is when I'm holding somebody, I can think about all those same kind of things in my everyday life, you know. Even when I reach for something when I would have injury, I would have to learn how to reach especially, and I would notice that it's actually even more comfortable to reach like that, so from then on I would reach like that, instead of just, you know, extending out and pulling out my shoulder or something. So to me it has unquestionable value, but to other people it becomes valuable for me to go through these learning processes, do something in front of someone, have them be inspired to want to do that, and then be able to tell them, listen, it'll just be this small set of steps, trust me, you can start to do this kind of thing. So you can inspire someone to have the knowledge to help teach them and sort of give them the comfort of knowing a normal person that doesn't spend all his time on that thing can do that thing.
I heard you saying there something about injury. Can you talk more about that? Have you had some injuries before? How did you deal with it as a movement artist?
So I think most of my injury is chronic, and it's just inflamed versions of the same total injury, but the injury is mostly sort of mislocation of certain parts, certain muscles, let's say, got stuck between certain ribs. And I think a lot of this strangeness came from one big injury, snowboarding. I had just tried to do something in a half pipe, and I jumped off the wall even though I wasn't supposed to jump at all, and it just brought me to the middle of the pipe, and I landed on my back from really high, and I remember having sort of abdominal pain after that. And I never really put things together until I could finally start to see now that I have rib bone here where there's no rib bone here, and it sort of moves around. I have all of my tension in the front. From there it wraps around the shoulder, comes up to the neck, to the ear, so on. This rib is out of place from that. And then maybe one basketball injury got my knee real good, which got my hip, and then skateboarding got my ligaments on my ankles a ton, and my shins a ton. So I've had to work through all of those things, and I didn't even know the details of most of them until I got into my harder hand balances or my harder training. So I didn't know I had to deal with it until I discovered a lot of it, and sometimes excited a lot of those injuries. And to be honest, that's what's made me better. Dealing with my injuries, understanding my injuries, seeing where they come from, still trying to figure out how to do things carefully and slowly without exciting the injury, really lets me understand how to do things properly. And finding that moment without any drastic change when I start to feel a pain from an injury really let me understand this whole process. It's not really, I have an injury, I can't move my arm like this. It's like there's a very specific set of things I can do, and then a very specific set of things I can't do. And so, you know, dealt with it by learning about it, understanding it, and developing it.
As far as development goes, when you're training, because I know you said you train throughout the day, kind of it's a daily process. So let's actually go to a different question. Let's go to, how do you find the balance between your art form and your life? I know you're currently in the middle of your PhD, getting that done. And
at the end, hopefully.
At the end, hopefully, yes. So you're currently doing that. You obviously have to find a balance between everything you have to do. How do you find your balance between it? Or is it all just one kind of flowing synergistic quality to you? What is it?
I think the days are long. I think if I sleep 8 hours, that's 16 hours left. If I work an 8-hour day, right, that's 8 hours left. If I shower and travel and eat for about 3 hours, that's 5 hours left. I couldn't even train 5 hours every day if I wanted to, you know? So right there, that guarantees there's at least that much time on this very rough schedule I developed here. And also combining training with, let's say, socializing. So sometimes you say, well, of that 5 hours I also need to have friends, right? But you have friends that train, or friends that want to train, or friends that even have stress, like doing yoga with someone else. It's very fun for me. I get to do my yoga, get to practice teaching, or, you know, bring someone through yoga. But also, they get the benefit, and we're hanging out. You know, and they feel like we're hanging out. So combining things, multitasking, you know, training while doing work. You know, if I have to watch a lecture, I can stretch while I watch a lecture. I can listen, do dishes or cook, you know, listen, do cooking and use my band while I listen, you know, and stretch. You can multitask, and then the training just becomes consistent, and even at work, you know. It's okay to train joints while you're at work. How much, you know, I can't possibly be typing every second of my job, otherwise I'd have a lot of bullshit. You know, it'd just be like nonsense. So weaving it all together.
Oh, just so you know, one coconut. Ian drank all of these. He's been asking for them one after the other, so yeah, he likes them.
He likes them.
Everyone here likes them, so
thank you.
Tucson, good place. Going on from there. Next question I actually had for you was, if there was a list, maybe not really a list, but if you had 5 qualities, things you kind of search for inside your training that help you feel like these are the things that will help me get the most out of my training. What would be, let's say 5, 3, even 1? Even 1 is a good thing. What is a quality you search for?
For every skill, let's say, I would say I look for the very beginning of that feeling like I'm doing it right. So I try to never start something by jumping, for example, into a handstand if I don't feel like I can press to the handstand, and I try to do everything from the ground up. So that's one thing. Knowing what every aspect of my training does to my body, you know, checking myself in the morning is really important before I rush out to my day, and checking myself before every training session. You know, too many times I'll do a flag without really checking myself, and then again my elbow inflamed for 4 days unnecessarily. Watching other people in full detail, you know, asking someone to do something slowly, finding a slow motion video of something. Watching people is super important, and seeing someone in person is the best thing I can do. If I can walk around the person, if I can get down into a position while someone's in that position, that's super important. Having people that are really good around me, because it's not the best to just find the best of YouTube, right? If you see the people you can talk to, I know how long they've been training, I ask them what kinds of things they've been doing, and I know where they're at now, then I can actually compare my sort of progress with the progress of someone else in front of me that I can ask questions of. And maybe otherwise, patience, you know? Patience came early for most of my life, and I'm still trying to develop more patience, always, you know. Patience to know that I can't try something again right now, even though I felt like I almost got it, you know, because I almost got my one-handed handstands a million times, but I never did, you know. And so sometimes when I'm just pushing myself to injury, that was unnecessary. I should have just waited 2 days, maybe I would have gotten it 2 days later. So increasing my patience is still one of the most essential parts.
Do you consider yourself a teacher, practitioner, a leader in the community? How so, and what do you want to be seen as in the community?
So I've definitely taught plenty of people. I definitely like to share information, so sometimes teaching is just sharing. It's not necessarily enough, you know, a hierarchic thing where I'm better than someone. If I just have information, I like to share that information and share the knowledge. People know that I practice, I know that I practice, and people have some idea of what I do, but in a sense, most of my day is sort of spent on my own doing strange things that have no name, you know, and people don't really know that I do that, and maybe it's not important, maybe it is, but I like anyone to see me as whatever they can see me as to gain something from me. You know, for them to just know that I'm some badass, you know, it won't help me in any which way except maybe if they have their friend that needs to know who the badass is. You know, but if people know that I'm someone that's nice, that likes to share information, that does certain things, you know, that likes to play with others, then that means that they can ask me and gain something from me, or know the people I know, I can introduce them to the social environment. So that's probably the most important thing for people to know me as. But maybe people will start to know me as a performer soon, which would be nice, just so that when I do go to performances, people come.
What do you think defines you? What defines Ian? Oh no. Buffer overload?
Yeah, buffer overload.
Okay.
I think I'm just a person, you know. Most of what defines me is my personality. You know, the things I do are just a few little things that can be thrown out in conversation, but when people interact with me, they interact with my personality. So all of my training creates my body, so people see my body. Yo! What's up, Donald? Kind of in the middle of answering the question.
Oh,
You can just take a seat and we're
Yeah, man,
done
join the fun.
in a little while, yeah.
Okay.
It's all part of the journey.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So,
Focus on.
I would say mostly I'm undefined. I would sit on the floor. I would just sit on the floor and not disturb that.
Yeah, it's okay. You didn't know.
Sorry, yeah. So, mostly I'm undefinable. Mostly I'd like to be known as the full collection of things that I've done and tried. Not necessarily that I'm good at everything, but people should know that I'm the person that tried everything. You know, I don't have to be a Renaissance man by expertise in every area, but it's good to know that nothing was too scary to try except the things that might kill me. You know, like fear of death, I could definitely put that, but fear of not doing something well, that didn't exist in me. And so it's good for people to know that I wanted to do things and I tried those things.
Was there anything else you'd like to touch on as far as doing what you do and living your life this way, or?
Well, I would say one of the biggest dreams is to figure out how to encourage all people to step out of their normal role or condition in society and feel free to explore the parts of life that animal is sort of made for. You know, exploring your movement, exploring your space, looking around. You know, someone was telling me that maybe your eyesight goes often as you age because you don't use your eye muscles because we're bored with what everything looks like. We lose curiosity, and curiosity shouldn't be lost. And if we could bring people somehow away from constantly thinking they're going to fail and thinking that failure is even an option, you know, to try something is to succeed enough. So finding a way to encourage the masses, probably through the internet, some viral something, you know, that would be one big hope.
Thanks, Ian.
Thanks.